Welcome back, and thank you for sticking with us through the halfway point on Pivotal Change. We're switching over to another guest, a guy that you have seen before and is a very, very wonderful business expert that we're all going to enjoy for a second time. Ryan Herpin here is with us to expand this conversation on leadership and making the things change necessary to have you reach your goals and reach those dream visions of yourself that you've always wanted. So, Ryan, welcome and thank you for coming back on the show.
Absolutely. It's an honor.
Good deal, sir. Well, what I like to do, per usual, I want to jump right in. So let me kick off with this question to you. And I want to talk about mindset. That's something that's very important for me. So I want to know about making mindset shifts and tell us about some of the key shifts that need to be made in the mind of an entrepreneur when they're transitioning from like a doer as a leader and they can more effectively then delegate.
Okay. I would say the key shift is moving from thinking about immediate tasks to thinking about long-term growth. I
Mhm.
typically refer to this as moving from the weeds to a 10,000-foot view. Leaders must focus on building simple systems and empowering others, uh, really empowering others to do things over doing them themselves. It's about transitioning from controlling every detail to trusting the process and the team to actually handle the execution.
I like that a lot. So I like the 10,000 foot view statement that you made as well. I've heard of various philosophies and various distances, but I really liked one that with that 10,000 foot view where like it's okay to come down every once in a while to 5,000 feet to your first level managers, to 2,000 feet to some of the highly skilled people, and maybe get down in the weeds just for a minute to really fix something that's broken or help. But you got to get back up to 10,000 feet. Um, what do you think about the frequency? Any times where you can check your own mindset to say, I've been down in the weeds too long and I need to get back up to 10,000?
So it's a matter of understanding that as the leader of the business, you're responsible for steering the ship. If you're away from the helm and you're playing in the weeds, you're not seeing the bigger things coming. You're not planning for the trip. You could be definitely causing your business to take a lot longer to reaching the goals than you would honestly want.
So if the leader is not running the business and they're constantly running around putting their hands in everything, they're actually delaying the success and delaying the vision. I really like that. So with the entrepreneurs wanting to develop more confidence and develop more trust with their teams, they're going to have to give them more and more important responsibilities. And especially when they've been doing everything themselves, how can they develop that trust and confidence in their people?
I would say confidence really comes from three things: simplifying everything as much as possible, hiring the right people, and investing in their development. Entrepreneurs really should focus on simplification, clear communication, setting expectations, and providing the right training. Ultimately, this is building a culture of accountability and support allows the leaders really to trust that their team is meeting those high expectations set for them.
I like the simplification, and I'm going to insult my own people for a minute. So back in law enforcement, we used to say things like, "Hey, you have to cop proof this," and that came from the term "you need to dummy proof it," right? So any dummy can pick it up and use it. Well, we would say cop proof it mostly because, hey, you can't have something too complex, or the guy's going to throw it in the back of the trunk and never use it. And in the same token, when a moment of stress hits, and cops deal with plenty of stress, when that moment of stress, he needs to be able to use it and deploy it under a moment of stress.
Mhm.
So in your simplification process, we aim at Shelton and Associates and at CS Business Consulting. We aim for an eighth grade level of education, even though most of our people are pedigreed and everyone has some type of college education. But that's not an insult to our people. That goes to the point of simplification. Do you have any just kind of general standard of how simple it should be without being insulting and too simple?
It's funny that you refer to insulting with it because my objective is I want to simplify everything a third grader could do it, right? It's a
Mhm.
lot easier said than done, but ultimately, the easier it is, the more successful your team can be and the more that they can thrive and grow in their career. So it shouldn't be taken as insulting. It should be taken as I'm really happy to work for this leader and to work and to be around them because they care that much about my success that they're going to put everything into making this as easy as possible for me.
I like that. So the mindset is they care for me this much to make it this easy for me to understand and therefore perform, instead of, hey, get off my back, micromanager, or hey, why did you think I was so dumb I couldn't understand? It's quite the opposite. I'm trying to guarantee your success. I like
Mhm.
that a lot. Okay, that was really good. Very, very good point. So let's talk a little bit more about some strategies, because you said some other things about skill development and things like that. Um, do you have any type of processes or steps in skill development along that entire process of developing the confidence and some of those trusted responsibilities? What are some key areas of skill? You mentioned communication that you would encourage people to maybe attack first.
Yeah, I would say transparency, simplification are definitely really, really important. If you're not transparent, if everybody on the ship is not able to see where you're trying to steer it, you're not going to have the same level of morale, confidence, and investment from the team. Having that transparency can make a world of difference. I've seen it plenty of occasions, but everyone wants to feel important and a part of the success of the business. So bringing them into the conversation and showing them what you see is powerful.
I like that a lot. If everyone on the ship doesn't see where you're going, oh man, that so I use a Christopher Columbus metaphor all the time about how brave he was just to get on the ship and sail across the ocean. And we all know through history, he was trying to reach the West Indies and accidentally rediscovered North America. And so, in that endeavor, had he not told the crew, this guy's loading cargo, loading supplies, why am I putting this extra load of cargo on here? I don't know where we're going. Halfway along the voyage, hey, I don't know why I'm turning the mast and the sails this way. Where the heck are we going? If he never told any of his crew where they were going, not a single person would have got on that boat, or they would have bailed off really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I think your point there is dead on. So let's talk about some strategy now. So there are some strategies that, and I want you to tell us what they are, that a business owner can use to identify the right tasks that they're then going to delegate. And then they make sure that that delegation doesn't compromise the ultimate quality or the results.
I think you really have to start by analyzing your workload and identifying tasks that don't necessarily require your unique expertise, like administrative tasks, routine decisions, and even some client management. You got to delegate with clear guidelines and checkpoints to ensure the quality stays intact while empowering your team to take ownership of those things that are delegated to them.
I like the checklists. I like the ownership, giving the team the ownership. So you'd mentioned like kind of that standard, like I know quality control is there if I'm reviewing every accounting related document that goes out the door, but I'm also going to turn gray really quick if I have to do every single accounting related document. So delegating to know that this is the standard that it has to meet before it goes out the door. And then I'm going to have the accountability check come back in to make sure you and the product are both correct. I really like that. I like that a lot. So in some of that delegation, you mentioned administrative tasks. Can I ask you a question about like the owner of a company? Now, assuming you're not starting from day one and you've got a little time under your belt, should the owner of the company be opening the mail and responding to every email request and scheduling all of their meetings and just talking to every client with every concern and issue complaint and hope, what's the level of which they should separate themselves from those things?
Ultimately, the easiest way to differentiate when you should be delegating tasks or when you should just be owning them yourself is when you're tight on time. If
Mm,
you have to sacrifice executing more important things for it's like don't step over a dollar to pick up a penny.
yeah.
When you feel that time getting tight, you need to start delegating those tasks and responsibilities. If a lot of business owners get caught up in that need to have control over everything, and it's ultimately something that sinks a lot of people's businesses because they're just not willing to let go.
Ooh, I like the not willing to let go part. I have a really good automatic driving metaphor for that I may save for another time. We'll see. But you also mentioned not stepping over a dollar to get to a penny. And so, I've created this little saying that I kind of changed from somebody else, but it says you need to work on what is important for as long as you can until the urgent gets in the way. And where I found myself tripping over that statement is that how do we identify what is urgent? And do we manufacture urgencies and then get off of what's important because of what we believe the nature is or how important it is to the client, even though it's not ultimately urgent to the end result of our process. So that's pretty good. So that kind of goes into cultivating some leadership skills, right? To be able to discern those types of things. So, like, what can entrepreneurs do to cultivate leadership skills that also inspire and empower? Because that's kind of the goal: inspire and empower their team to take the ownership and drive the business forward with just no constant need for oversight.
I would say leadership is about inspiring confidence and fostering a sense of shared vision. I believe the most important aspect is leading by example. Entrepreneurs should focus on mentoring their team, providing opportunities for growth, and encouraging open communication by showing your team how you operate, then trusting the team to contribute ideas and take initiative. You create that culture where people feel responsible for the success of the business.
I like that a lot. And I know we have all heard you need to lead by example, but I think it's so important to connect to two things that you just said. You said leaders need to be mentoring, which is a very specific process. That's different than training and teaching and educating. Mentoring involves more. But if you lead by example and mentoring, that's going to probably end up in other people modeling that behavior and then mentoring each other, their peers, and then their future subordinates. Um, is that the goal?
Yes, ultimately, the goal of any leader should be to create more leaders. That is my belief on how you measure an effective leader.
Got you. I hope everyone watching with the pen and paper writes that down. The goal of a leader should be to create and grow more leaders. And that is a great spot for us to cut to commercial break and let that echo in your ears while we go onto this real quick timeout and come back for our last segment of the night on Pivotal Change.